The character is more me than any character I've written so far, I'm pretty sure.
More like you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I didn't grow up on a farm
Yeah.
in the South, but
Yeah. But her, like, inner being.
Yeah. This is a lot like mine.
That's amazing. And last night we were talking about young adult genre and then also this kind of like 90s revival, and you were saying that your kids are kind of like the age of your characters, so it made more sense to like think about yourself and or like more being retro 90s.
Yeah, because I started writing like it was them, you know, like
Yeah.
their generation, and I just couldn't, I felt like it wasn't, I just couldn't make it very authentic.
Yeah.
And knowing them, it was like, this isn't what their friends or what they would say or do.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, honestly, I like to go back and write to the 90s or before because then you don't have cell phones to deal with in your story.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that same thing.
Yeah. Because you don't want everyone to have a smartphone in their pocket for a lot of stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one, like, is taking place when I'm writing now about the girl that I was just talking about. The donkey. She, that is now, but she's also kind of in a very isolated place. So I feel like it's the cell phone thing and like the voice of this generation doesn't need to be quite as strong with her.
Right.
Because she's isolated.
It's just fascinating to see. Hi, Buttercup. Are you going to come up here with the puppy dog? Buttercups. It's just fascinating to see how quickly the current youth generation is so, like, everything's documented, you know? Like, everything is video. Everything is... And it's like, is that... I don't know. I wonder... because we grew up before that, like, is that an authentic experience? And then I feel so bad for people who are like young people who are like more introverted or shy, like I was. Like, there's so much pressure to like document everything you're doing and recording everything. So I feel like maybe do you think maybe that might be like one little element of like why the 90s seems to be something kind of like people are nostalgic for now?
Maybe. I noticed when my kids were growing up though that it's funny that they're more okay with like transient and like living in the now.
Yeah.
Because they do have like all that, they're like documenting everything, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, because stuff goes out in a digital sense, it can disappear. Like their stuff just stays on the phone and then it's gone, and they're like okay with that. Okay with things like being gone and letting go of stuff. Yes. I felt like when I used to take pictures or video, I was like, it's gonna be here special forever. Yeah. I will have it when I'm old and gray, and I'll be able to look back. And some of that stuff, like the physical pictures, I still have, but.
Yeah, like when you had to develop a roll of film, you know, and then you had to go pick it up, and you get double prints of something, you know, so you could share it with whoever.
It's like they see the documentation in a totally different way than I do.
Yeah.
It's not like a memory to keep. It's
right.
It's like their expression of what's happening right in the moment.
Yeah.
And then it's okay for them for it to be gone.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do they spend a lot? She's talking to Buttercup. Are you talking to Buttercups? Buttercup's been around puppy dogs, so she's like, what is this small creature?
I don't know if it has been around cats except the neighbor cat. But I mean, they don't really get very close to each other. They just interact from feet away. Yeah. So let me wait for this car to go by. It's a Saturday, and this is like the most traffic on Saturdays. Oh yeah. Yeah, Saturday traffic. So have you found other residencies where you're able to bring your puppy dog? No. Okay. So this is the first. So that was that appealing for you here? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can leave her. The problem actually is that my husband works night weekends. Okay. And so 12-hour shifts, 13 hours really. So she has to be left overnight for a really long time. Yeah. And either that or my mom has to take her, which my mom doesn't mind, but it's easier.
And I just obviously love having her around.
Yeah.
So
she's sitting there looking at Buttercup, and she's kind of like shaking a little bit, like she's not quite sure what to do. It's so cute. Buttercup's just like, chilling,
sitting on these stairs, in the farm.
Yeah. So when you arrived on Sunday, the weather app said it was going to be kind of like chilly. It was chilly on Sunday and Monday, right? And it was like gray and blah. And then we looked at it, we're like, Wednesday will be the warmest day. And then today it's like bright, sunny, and like in the 80s. And I think that you live kind of in a similar latitude. Is that what it called? Yeah. Is it the latitude is the horizontal? Yeah.
I think so. Those two always escape me.
Yeah. So you kind of get somewhat similar. Is it more mountainous?
No, because it's right in between the mountains and the beach. And so it's more just hilly.
Okay.
If even that.
And how long have you lived in North Carolina?
1 year.
Oh, wow.
1 year?
Okay.
2?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Great.
Yeah.
So like raise the kids there and stuff. Yeah.
The kids are both Southerners.
That's funny.
Although they're urban Southerners, so it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah. That's great.
Raised by 2 Northern parents.
Right.
So, I mean, I hear it all the time in the way I talk. It's been a long time since I've been in the South.
Yeah, I get it. So you told me last night when we were having dinner that you were at another residency and they had the elderberry routine. Can you remind me what that was real quick so I can remember?
That was, it was at it's got a long name, Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, cool.
It's a conference that they did every year until the pandemic, and they're actually picking it back up this year. So I'm kind of hoping to apply and go this year because when I went, it was the year the pandemic happened. I had already gotten in, and then it was virtual.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to go to Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
But they do this thing at the beginning where they have like an opening ceremony. And they do elderberry cocktails, I think is probably how they do it, because there's some sort of Scandinavian, I don't remember from where, tradition where elderberry is like brings the muse.
Okay. That's what I need to look up. Yeah. Brings the muse. That's really awesome.
At least that's how they put it.
Yeah. So technically you're here to write, but right now you're painting, and this is part of like a spontaneous project because you're being active and helping out with kind of like quote unquote farm activities. And who knew that painting flowers was part of that? But are you having fun? Yes. When you told me that you've been typing all day and your hands hurt, I'm like, and then I said, I have painting. You're like, I love painting. I'm like, okay, perfect. How's this been?
I was standing here earlier thinking, there are maybe 3 things that if you paid me to do, I'd say, pinch me, I'm dreaming. One of them is painting.
Really?
Anything. Like I can just paint a flat piece of furniture or a wall, but I also I paint as well. And
that is fun. So like painting solid surfaces with a roller or a brush. I love doing that too. It's kind of zen-ish.
And I also just love to paint. Like I like when things are painted, so I paint stuff all over the house all the time.
That's fun.
My husband loves naked wood, so that's
okay. This is a contrast. There was some artists here a few years ago, and they met at a residency, and Alex is like the raw wood, like you don't paint wood, and Ryana is like he was doing all this like raw, like sustainable stuff, and then she was like painting everything. So fun. So being outside and having an activity, has that been fruitful for your brain and your story?
Yeah. And I, spent some time with the donkeys, which was good because then I was able to write that character.
Yeah.
Better. And then also when I went into town, just picturing her small town.
Great.
Better too. And, for me, it's probably true of a lot of writers, but it's like even just a handful of details is what you need to really like set the scene.
Yeah.
So just coming up with a handful of details that can.
Yeah.
That's great. So how often do you feel like you need that getaway while you're working on your projects? Like once, twice a year, like if you had your, you're going to be an empty nester in a while. So,
right. So for the last 2 years, because I've done a residency where I've gone back every year for the last several years. I can't remember how it worked around the pandemic. I missed a little bit, but
yeah.
So twice a year is kind of what I've been doing.
Okay.
And then I always feel like, okay, that's enough. But yeah, I think as my son starts college in a couple of years, I'll probably want to do more of it, or at least do longer, because I've limited it to a week just because I'm needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, I love the flower wall, and I want the whole side of the building to be colorful and fun. So I super appreciate that you were here at the right moment in time for this to happen. And I just, when you live in a place where kind of everything is cookie cutter and people have white houses or black houses or whatever, and everyone does their yard nice. I just want it to be in a place where it could just be like art everywhere, and you turn around and there's just something fun and pretty to look at. There's a couple of, I'm being summoned here. There's a couple of inspirations I've seen of like an old lady, like in Greece or somewhere. And she has like painted all the houses in the neighborhood in her town. Nice. With like mosaic looking things. And then another one that's like a mosaic, like someone has done mosaics throughout the town. And I just love that, So you live kind of in a townhouse now. So I'm sure that this has been like a little dose of
limited to 2 pieces of something on my lawn, which I've had.
Really?
My 2 pieces. I get away with stuff on my porch.
Yeah.
But
that's the rule.
I have a gazing ball and this like owl made out of glass.
No way. Okay.
Now, when Halloween or Christmas comes around, they don't let me. So like right now, the whole front
fun.
Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
So I find ways.
That's awesome.
To do what I want to do. But...
That is awesome. Well, I so appreciate you, and I hope you can come back again, either as like a vacation with your husband and your son, or if you're up for another residency in the future, maybe a different season or something, so you can get the different effect, Yeah. So is the current book you're working on, you said, is it a trilogy?
Yeah. So
okay.
The one that I'm working on kind of mostly this week, it has more to do with what I'm doing here. That is not a trilogy. That's
okay.
A single book, which I've discovered is, I think, YA, which didn't realize.
Yeah.
But then the book that I had written the first one, and I'm going to write the second one during NaNoWriMo, is that's a trilogy.
Great.
That one I finished in March, and I'm going through revisions.
Nice. And do you have a publisher?
No.
Okay.
So my first 2 books, 2013, 2015, I did self-publishing. That was kind of new. It was super exciting. I thought, this is great. And then my son all of a sudden needed to be homeschooled.
Okay.
So that was right after I published the second one. So I just dropped them both. So they're just out there in the world, but they have no support.
Yeah.
And this time I would like to go traditional instead.
That's great. That's great.
Because I stopped, homeschooling was over last year.
Yeah.
And I was teaching co-op classes.
Wow, yeah. Lots of things to do.
Yeah.
Well, it has been awesome. And I look forward to keeping in touch.